82nd or the 84th Psalm. So we're looking at the Psalm here. 84. Psalm 84. So Psalm 84 in the King James Version of the Bible has the word Bacca, which, as I've written it here. And Bacca is actually an ancient way of representing the same sort of sound, the same word Makkah. Makkah. Nowadays, obviously, it's spelled with two C's, and usually like that. So there may have been some mention. Now, of course, the whole psalm read in its context seems to have the flavor of referring to Jerusalem, Mount Zion, and everything Jewish. But that largely is because the Bible obviously is written by people who shared a certain religious orientation, and they wrote things to popularize that orientation and to defend it and to prove that to be the correct understanding of things. If one were to look at the sons of Abraham, it is clear that Abraham had more than one son, but only one son comes to receive prominent treatment. Basically, these are the wrong markers, or this is the wrong eraser. And let's look at that's red. Try that too.
Can you bring this here?
That erases, okay. That's the right one. Okay, so Abraham fathered Ishmael and also Isaac. But everything is told through the perspective, okay, sure. You don't have the right marker, bring the right board. Abraham had two important sons, Ishmael and Isaac, before, of course, he married Keturah and had other sons. And everything is told in the Bible through the perspective of Isaac. The Bible even says that when God made his covenant with Abraham, he reconfirmed it with Isaac by saying, "It is through Isaac that my covenant will be regarded." So what about Ishmael? Well, the Bible says that Ishmael will be a wild donkey of a man, and his hand will be against everyone else's hand, and he will be an archer, a great archer. But the Bible also says that Ishmael will be made into a great nation. So I want to expand upon that point a little bit by just making reference to some other figures in the Bible. I hope someone will be able to clear my name later on by erasing all of this, huh? Let's see if we can maybe use this board. So let's think of some other people. Tamar, a woman, according to, in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, chapter 38, has two sons, or at least two important sons at one time, and they are born as twins. According to the book of Genesis chapter 38, the twins are somehow struggling for dominance, even while they're in the womb. One of them sticks out his hand at the time of birth, and the midwife ties a scarlet thread around his wrist, marking him as the firstborn. But then he pulls back his hand, and the other child comes rushing out. Now, biblical commentators looking at this say that obviously the writers are reflecting on the situation in their time, that there is a struggle between the two, or long after the fact, they know that in history there has been a struggle between the descendants of the two sons of Tamar. And so they have projected that conflict between the two nations back into the womb of their ancestral matriarch. And the victors are writing the history. So you have a problem where the writers are obviously the descendants of the younger son. They have the concept of firstborn, which we don't have now. For us, everyone is even Stephen. regardless whether you're the firstborn or secondborn or lastborn. Someone may say that the last one is the favorite of the family or whatever, but that's as far as it goes. And you might say that the middle one gets kicked around, being bossed around by the older one, and blamed for the mistakes of the younger one, and so on. So, but that's as far as it goes. We don't think that the firstborn has an inherent right to anything, but they thought so. They thought that the firstborn son had, and always the son, the daughters didn't seem to count much, but the firstborn son had the inherent right to some status. So the problem for the biblical writers now is to explain how the one who is known to be the firstborn son doesn't seem to have it all. How is it that the younger brother seems to be going ahead? So the one with the scarlet thread around his wrist, he is known to be the firstborn, that's indisputed, but can we do something about that? So as a literary fiction, we have it that the one who's got the scarlet thread on his wrist didn't actually make it out first. He only tested the water, so to speak. He felt his way into the new world, but he pulled back. And it's the other one that reached the finishing line first. So that's how the story is told. Let's think about Jacob and Esau. Jacob and Esau, two important biblical figures as well. I can put it here. So Isaac, here we're looking at Isaac. Okay, let's put it here. Isaac has Jacob and Esau. It's usually spelled with a U, Esau. E-S-A-U, so we don't need two E's there. Jacob and Esau are two brothers born children of Isaac. Now everyone knows that Esau is the firstborn son. But who is the more important of the two sons in history? It is Jacob, who is renamed Israel. It's the same as Israel. And the father of the Israelite tribes. So it is the children of Israel who are going to give us this history. And they find ways to demean Esau, to the extent that Esau eventually sells his birthright. But already in the womb of their mother again, there is a struggle between the two embryos, or fetuses. They're already struggling in the womb, and then Esau is born first. And everybody knows that. There's not much you can do about that. But how can you get Jacob to be at least a close runner-up? Well, the story goes that when Esau was born, he came out first. Jacob came out grasping the heel of his brother. So these are very sentient fetuses. And they know what they're doing, they struggle with each other, and they're rushing to get out first. And he doesn't make it out first, but he's a very close runner-up. He's almost out there, like they come out on a string. Almost like you pull a monkey out of a barrel and another one comes out. The kids do that, right? They have the little barrel, plastic monkeys, pull them off. Okay, so we know that children are not born in that way. So what's happening here? There's a literary fiction used to explain the situation that the writers are observing, or that they know that has been a fact of history. There is a struggle between the descendants of Esau and the descendants of Jacob, and that struggle is projected back into the womb of the ancestral mother. Okay? So what about Ishmael and Isaac? Just go one generation up, and we see that the similar thing is happening. Well, no story about the womb here, because they're known to be too far separated in time. Ishmael is known to be 14 years senior to his brother Isaac. But now, the story as is told in the book of Genesis is that when Isaac was being weaned, that is when Ishmael was found making fun of him, and Sarah, being jealous, said, "Cast out that bondwoman and her son, so that her son will not inherit with my son." And Abraham was then told by God, "You should listen to your wife." And Abraham, listening to this, then took his wife, concubine Hagar, and her son, and left them in the wilderness with very little provision. So the story is going to be told from the point of view of Isaac, and Ishmael doesn't count for much, neither he nor his mother. But Muslims looking at this will see a different side of the story, because in the Islamic traditions, we have it that Hagar and her son were placed in Mecca. We're told where they went. The Bible says the wilderness of Paran, which would be something like the very northern section of Arabia at the time.